I think we did talk about when and what to outsource, like some trigger points of when to outsource. And
Yes.
like for one is, you're bogged down with non-core tasks and you need to focus on your core competency. You lack expertise in a certain area, and it'll take time, effort, and even sometimes money to learn a certain thing. So outsource those. And then also if you're ready to scale but aren't ready to scale, sorry, to hire in-house, you can also start outsourcing. But there is, I think, a better, or at least, I wouldn't say the right way to outsource. I think
Are you giving a rule of
there
thumb?
are effective ways. Yeah, rule of thumb, yes. In terms of doing outsourcing, or starting to outsource your first few people. And I think the very first thing is knowing what tasks do you want to outsource? What exactly is it that you want to outsource? Do you want to outsource your customer support arm? Do you want to outsource your sales or your lead generation? I think in our experience in the past few years, there was a time where we were in a discovery call where we were talking to the client and they just said personal tasks. That's what they want to outsource, but cannot pin down what personal
What
tasks
the tasks
they want
were?
to give the
Yeah.
VA. Yeah, what the tasks were. And that's going to be a recipe for disaster, because then you wouldn't, by the time that you do have your VA with you and you don't exactly know what you want them to do, you will
Mhm.
find yourself at a loss, like day in and day out, like thinking, okay, I have a VA, so what now? So the very first step is really define what it is that you need and what do you think, like, you need the VA to do or your customer support team to do. Yeah.
Yeah. When it's I think that is harder for it's harder for people who is currently chief everything,
Yeah.
because it's separating things that I used to do myself and things that I
Mm-hmm.
wish somebody else would do for me, but now you also add to the trouble, have trouble delegating or letting go because you think you're the
Oh,
first
yeah.
person to.
It's a big
um
thing.
yeah,
Being able
some
to let
people
go,
do, some
delegate.
people just can't allow other people to do things. No, they have to look over everything
Mm-hmm.
and sign off on everything, which isn't a bad thing, but that
Mm-hmm.
just means you haven't developed a process yourself to be able to actually delegate and then just sign off on the most
Yes.
important task. But that's, you know
I think
again.
one solution for that is to, and I know we might be jumping here, but to actually document what you want this person to do if you already have it, right? Like, so especially for a chief everything officer, if you're the one, and I've had the discovery call like this where the CEO was the one doing the order fulfillment,
Mhm.
like taking in the orders, actually
Actually
communicating to
fulfilling
the
the orders,
warehouse.
yeah.
Yeah, like, right, like, if you already have a process in place and you know that that's not what you need to focus on, then
Or the
start
best use of your
documenting it, right?
time, yeah.
Best use of your life, start documenting it. And you don't have to write it in such a way in business language. No, all you have to do really, if actually the most basic, if you can take a video of what you're doing, like even on an online video,
Take a
that's the
loom.
best way. And have, yeah,
take a five
like a
take a five
Loom,
minute loom.
or yeah, I think I use Cloud App for recordings, but Loom
Yeah, I mean,
is
yeah.
that's a tool. No, but yeah, but if you can record it, like if you're not a good writer, but you do know how to do it, and you can just record it in a video and have your VA or whoever you're working with as an when you outsource, right? Look at that video and see step by step how you do it, and then they would write it for you, and then you would just sign off on that documentation. And then even just for the first few times that they do it, you just look at the output. If that's the desired output that you have, then that's the solution for it. That disconnect between, can I delegate this or not?
Yeah.
Try to document the process
Yeah.
first.
And the truth is, the truth in this world is, like, a lot of great documents or great processes never actually got documented because people suck at writing. um no, it's true. I mean,
Yeah.
if you think about, like, a lot of companies every company that you ever worked with, like, with usually their problem is we weren't that great in keeping track of our documentation, or should have done a better job with our documentation. But believe me when I say, if you need to start delegating, if you can't delegate, don't think that you can delegate with just giving instructions. Has to be detailed. It has to be, if you want to say this is how I did it, take a video, because that's exactly what you did, and that's exactly what they can follow. And what you think you're giving out as instructions in your head doesn't always translate the same way when you're
Yeah,
showing somebody exactly
that's right.
how to do it. So
I
yes.
would I think showing something how to do a specific task, I think for me is okay, as long as while you're doing, like, you're showing them how to do it, someone is taking down notes on how it's done and then documenting it. Because
Mm,
I understand you don't have time to sit down, right, and the person is already here. Then show them through the process, have them document it for you.
mm-hmm.
And then again, look at the first few times that they do it, look at if you're satisfied with the output. It is not a set it and forget it, meaning, okay, I already showed you once, you should be able to do it, right? Like, it's not like that. You are still, even if you're outsourcing, and you're outsourcing a certain task that you have done multiple times and you want it done a specific way, and that's a caveat, you want it done a specific way, then you would have to teach them. You really would just have to teach them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about? And I think we've talked about sorry, how to outsource the right way. I think the next thing is finding the right person and the right partner.
Who is the right person for the job that
You
you
wouldn't
want?
know who the right, yeah, you wouldn't know who the right person is if you haven't defined clearly what it is that you need. So it all starts with that. So finding the right partner depends on what you need. You can
Yes.
work with a freelancer, you can work with an agency or an outsourcing firm, but depends on what. Do you have any tips, Francis, if for example something is um can be outsourced a freelancer as opposed to an
we
agency?
already we already agreed earlier that
Mm,
almost everything that is not of your core competency can be outsourced, right? In fact,
mm-hmm.
even if it's your core competency, it can still be outsourced. Um, but who the right person is probably the same complexity as finding, a life partner, or a
Mm,
hookup. There has to be that right. Sorry, should we just there has to be the right chemistry. Yeah, that's why people
mm,
what exactly are these avenues? It could be just hiring somebody, a guy that right? That
mm,
somebody that you can pay, like, like, if for plumbing jobs, you just go, oh, I know this somebody. Or we go to the other thing is referrals. When you say, do you know somebody who knows how to do this, and they say, I know somebody,
mm,
right? And then when you but it's the right type of person or entity for the right type of job as well. So I'm talking about, sometimes
yeah.
you can go directly to a freelancer and they say, I can do this, right? And I'm saying freelancer versus an entire agency is different, based on not even just scalability, because you can still go to an agency to hire one person, right? The
Yes, that's
difference
true
is,
too.
if when you're talking to a freelancer, you'll have to take on a lot of the tasks that is involved with doing that: contracts,
Payroll, yeah,
payroll, for
payroll.
example.
And
And
even like legal compliance with hiring a freelancer. You'd have
mm,
to take that on.
you'll have to understand that. So maybe if the job that you're doing doesn't have the right, happens to be just, 100 word article, for example, you could probably just go to Fiverr or know somebody who writes and say, can I
Mm,
commission you to do something? Could be as easy as that, right? But if you're saying, I need somebody to take on these tasks, and those tasks involve giving personal details like your email, your bank account, access to
Mm,
your
yeah,
systems. You probably want somebody that you can really sign an ironclad contract with, or
contract.
in this case, starting with why agencies are somebody who can watch over that person for you, right? And then now when you're
Mm-hmm.
saying, I am a person and I need to find the right partner. I am this person and I need an entire, all of a sudden I need an entire army of people to do the work for me. You probably need to just go straight to an outsourcing firm and say, this is what I need to do. And they say no more. We know exactly what you want to do. Is it this, and this? Is that what you need? And all you need to do is say yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
One other thing that you need to know when you're outsourcing or how to do it effectively is also using the right tools. And we're not just talking about project management tools. There's a lot of project management tools out there. We're also talking about communication tools, right? What's the best tool for you in terms of, for example, for us, Slack works for us. Most of our clients use Slack, sometimes Teams, Microsoft Teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it depends on what your need is. But the important thing there is you have tools to communicate, you have tools to collaborate because you are working from different countries. So you do need to have that tech stack, as they call it, or the tools in place to be able to collaborate effectively.
So, given that you also have tools, you have now these
Mm.
people, um, uh, what is the next, for me, the other, let's just say the most important thing, now that you have the people and the tools and the process, you now have to understand how to, you kind of want to say, okay, go forth and be successful, right? But how do they come back and say, yes, I am successful? You now have to be able to say, this is how I will know that you are successful. In short,
Yes.
your measurement of success, right? So,
Yes.
um, what will define that? If you tell a writer to, I need 100-page document, 100-page article, and he comes back and says, here's 100-page article, it could just be a string of words that doesn't measure success, right? If
Yes.
you say just create, make me 10 social media posts, then social media marketer can come back to you and say, or content creator can come back to you and say, here's your 10 posts, right? It has
But
to
the
be
aren't effective, right? It has to be very specific on what you think success is. So, for example, in customer support, right? Because that's one of our core services, well, Virtua's core services, customer support or tech support,
answer the
actually.
email.
Yeah, like it's not just answering the email; it's first response time. How fast? Like what your customers want. They want fast resolution, fast responses. So you would measure for first response time. You would measure for resolution time, right? And you would have to identify what these KPIs or SLAs are going to be. And just as a word of caution, concentrate on a few. If you are trying to streamline and working with an agency, try to focus on certain, like the priorities first, like what you want to prioritize first, whether it's being able to answer emails right away, right? Like focus on that first. Don't focus on all the KPIs at all times because that's gonna lead not just your agency or your freelancer to burn out, but you as well because you're trying to juggle so many things. So in terms of KPIs and SLAs, have them in place, make them specific, and it depends on what role you're outsourcing, right? Make them very specific. Smart, I guess, is
Smart.
you said smart earlier, right? Like,
Yeah,
specific, measurable, attainable. Yeah,
time bound. Uh,
yeah.
Nothing so far. So I mean, these wisdom tips, tricks,
Mm.
acronyms. So far, nothing has ever topped smart in terms of
Goal
creating and
setting.
measuring goals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's the most, people have been saying smart, smart, smart. You know, I mean
Yeah.
probably before we started working, but when I came in, when you come in some good 25 years ago. Um, before I said, you know, uh, I will create more training modules. That's not smart. You didn't say how many, by what
How many,
time,
when, yeah.
by when. When you say hold more classes, you didn't say how many, when, and to who. So, you know, it
Mm,
it's very interesting that you actually still see them now that you're mentoring your own set of leaders, that how easy it is to forget how to become smart with something. And and as a leader yourself, who's either delegating or setting those goals for other people to
mm,
accomplish, you're setting yourself up for failure when you come back and say, did you do this? There's so many aspects for them to be able to say yes. Like if you didn't count the fact that it failed, it was successful. I think I've heard
yeah.
somebody I think I've heard somebody say that, like, did you think you were successful? I mean, other than the fact that we didn't close a sale, you can still consider it a success. So,
Because we talk to someone, right? So really depends how you would phrase it, and sorry, how you would phrase it and everything. So I mean, these are just some of the best practices that you can do when you do start outsourcing. There are a ton of things and a ton of details underneath all of those. And I think with the 7 years that you and I share, well, actually even more than that, because you were working with a call center even before we started Virtua.
mhm.
I was the same. Well, we're more of an in-house sales
We were in-house, yeah.
arm, but
But we
yeah,
were working
but
for
then
and I was working for an outsourcing firm, call center.
yes. Yeah. So those, like, there's a lot of details that we can share in terms of how to outsource the right way, or at least the best practices. And we can always, I mean, if you guys think that you would like to know more on how to outsource the right way and how to partner the right way with an outsourcing agency or even a freelancer, let us know. Please leave a comment down below. We would love to see, we would love to know if you want to know more.